I know that there's probably a bunch of different people that are joined, and I'd love to get a better idea of if you guys are students, educators, parents. So if you want to enter in the chat, that would be great. My promise to you is that after this meeting, you'll never see career exploration in the same way. And for parents, you're going to discover a new approach to career exploration that'll help your child achieve their full potential. And for teachers, awesome. Thank you, Sarah, for sharing. For teachers, you're going to discover a specific methodology called the challenge mindset that you can use in your classroom with your students. And it's been used by hundreds of different schools, and it's changing career exploration on a global level. Thank you for sharing, Sling, too. So it looks like we mainly have students, which is so exciting. Okay, I'm going to share in this chat a link to a Google slide. And I'm also going to share my screen. So you guys should be able to see my screen in a second. Perfect. Does somebody want to let me know, maybe turn on their mic if you can see the first slide of my presentation?
Yes, I believe we can.
Awesome, thank you. So if you guys are ready to get started, I am. So I wonder if growing up, you guys thought that you'd be working where you are today. So I'll let you in on a little secret. Growing up, I wanted to be an astronaut. And this may surprise you, but it didn't happen yet. I'm sure you've gotten the question before, what do you want to be when you grow up? So we're asking teens what they want to be when they grow up, and they think that we need to pick just one thing for the rest of your life. Isn't that awful? I did a quiz in high school, and it told me I should be a beekeeper since I like being outside. Choosing one job title limits your options. So what I'm going to suggest is that instead, young people should see the future as full of opportunities. I'm excited to see the world that they're going to create, and I love doing this kind of work because the future is so exciting. There's so many different problems, challenges, and opportunities for people to work on, and there's many different ways to work on them and to make the world a better place. Don't you think? I guess what I'm most excited about today is the people that are on this call, since you guys are going to be the ones that are going to find new careers, problems to work on, and opportunities, and the educators here are going to be the ones helping you find meaning to your lives. So I have a unique career exploration methodology to share with you, and the goal of the challenge mindset is to help students discover unique challenges that are coming in the future. So first, I just want to share a little bit about myself. I've been working for SparkPath since November 2019, and I was brought on the team as a success manager. If you guys have any questions after the presentations, feel free to send me either an email, or we can connect on LinkedIn, or I can answer the chat questions in the Q&A at the end. So some of the problems with job titles is that there's so many right now. There's not only are there too many job titles, but typically they focus on prestige, salary, or TV characters. There's job titles that will change or that don't exist yet. And job descriptions are increasingly hard to create. So our theory at SparkPath is, what if we moved away from job titles and focused on challenges, problems, and opportunities instead? What exactly do I mean by this? We'll clean our oceans. That's a problem that needs to be solved. Increase intergenerational learning. Someone needs to do that. Or let's celebrate different cultures. A more local problem would be improve our local parks, build furniture that lasts, or encourage voter participation. Isn't it fun to think outside of the box and of different challenges that need solving? I'd like to ask you guys, what do you care about? So would you rather invent new biotechnology or promote healthy living? You can either enter it in the chat, but I won't be able to see it, or if somebody wants to share with their mic which challenge they prefer.
Promote a healthy living.
Great choice. That's mine too. Do you want to share why you chose promote healthy living? You don't have to if you don't want to.
Basically because it's important as to keep our bodies healthy as we go through life because our body is the only thing we have to keep us going.
I totally agree. Okay, let's go to the next one. So would you rather design the future of transportation or improve mental health? If somebody wants to share, feel free to connect to the mic.
I would say improve on mental health because that's like the issue of today, and we can't move forward if we're still stuck on problems like right now.
Definitely. Thank you for sharing. If somebody else wants to add anything, feel free. Okay, so I'll move on. Imagine doing this exercise with people that you work with and asking them what challenges they like to work on. In a group setting, we call this the challenge face-off. What you could do is ask everybody to stand up and move to one side of the room based on which challenge. For instance, if you want to promote healthy living, you go to the left side, versus if you want to find new biotechnologies, you go to the right. We call this the challenge face-off. Now, when people share what they say, I find it so fascinating because listening to what people have to say, really, when they choose a challenge, you get to hear their values, their experiences, and how they see the world. This is a very interactive and easy activity that lots of schools are using and introducing in terms of to introduce career exploration. Why? Because there's lots of stuff that we need to break and undo. Years and years of asking students, what do you want to be when you grow up? So the challenge face-off is a way to move away from that. Ultimately, what the challenge face-off is promoting is if you don't choose the challenges you want to work on, someone else will choose for you. I'm glad you want to be an engineer, but what are you going to do once you graduate? Send your resume to 50 different companies and hope someone hires you? Well, that's what most people are doing. But ultimately, it comes down to, are the companies working on the challenges and values that interest you? Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. So if you don't choose the challenges you want to work on, someone else will choose for you. Traditionally, we ask students what their favorite courses are. Oh, you like art. Awesome, but do you like anything else? What about math? Okay, perfect, math. You can study accounting, and then you can be an accountant, get hired by an accounting firm, and then when you're 25 to 32, maybe you'll realize that these are the challenges I'm trying to solve. Perhaps it's helping clients collect better data or be fiscally transparent, and maybe you love that, or maybe you hate it. And I'm sure you know somebody in this position. The challenge mindset is about flipping the model. So why don't we find a challenge that interests you? The companies that are working on it, the people that work there, what they had to study to get there. And let's imitate their model. When people use this reverse cascade, they typically understand why they're going to school. I'm in school because I'm going to learn something important that will solve a challenge. Think of your engagement and motivation once you've heard this message. I find it hard to see the connection between school and work otherwise. And I'm sure you've either said or heard another student say, why are we even learning this? Is everyone still with me? And are there any comments, questions, or reactions so far? Okay, so I'll move on. Now, this is a very theoretical way of thinking, but when you engage with students or you try it yourself, it becomes a lot simpler. So I'm going to explain with Anna's story. Anna's being asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? It's a difficult question to answer because as a teenager, like I said, you probably know about 20 job titles, when in reality, there's about 20,000 out there that may not even exist yet. So why would we make her pick just one? It's not like she's going to do one thing for the rest of her life. So instead of limiting her, what we did is we helped Anna take a different approach, and she explored challenges, problems, and opportunities that she could work on. To do this, she looked at a copy of the magazine The Economist, and we said, Anna, why don't you pick your favorite article out of this magazine? So here's what she chose. You know that green colored water? Well, turns out it's a specialized form of algae that's being developed to clean polluted waters. Isn't that an interesting problem to solve? Once Anna chose this challenge, she worked backwards to identify companies working on it, who works there, what they learned to get there, and how they achieved this. What we quickly discovered is that most people working there and on this algae had studied materials science and engineering. So Anna looked more into materials science and engineering and found out that she could work in industry, consulting, or education, and that there's great opportunities for women. Anna had this mindset, and she was willing to adapt. She's constantly looking for challenges and opportunities to tackle how she can serve the world. So what if you want to make something that matters, but you also want to use big machines? Well, maybe you'll find a job at Boeing and you'll realize that they're working on these challenges. The challenge mindset's for all types of students, and there's a problem for everyone to solve. I want people to become challenge researchers, to always be on the lookout. Young people need to hear this message. The young people we're meeting today are less independent and more anxious. Why are they anxious? Because they don't know what they want to do. Wait, what do you mean you don't know what you want to do? You think you're just going to have one job title for the rest of your life? We need to stop thinking this way. And this is what I'm encouraging you guys to do today. We're more focused on academics versus having work. Students are worried about student debt, unemployment, underemployment, and they can see within some of their parents that they're disengaged from their jobs. Now, this slide is really heavy. If it feels heavy to you, it's because it is. But I have a different message that I want the students to hear, and it's that the world needs you. There's so many challenges and opportunities out there for you, and this is why I'm so excited. There's so many things that you can work on in the world, and hearing this message gives students hope. And I know you probably meet or know a lot of students that have lost hope. Engineer better medicine. Who works on this kind of challenge? If somebody wants to answer, feel free. I'll give a suggestion. A laboratory assistant could work on this kind of challenge. But what I'm getting at is within a company working on engineering better medicine, there's also a project manager that's going to keep everybody on task. There's a finance person. Somebody had to design the company logo. There's an HR person hiring and bringing on new employees. What I'm trying to say is that there's so many different ways to work on challenges. So the best way that we've found to do this is with the challenge cards. This is the tool we've developed, and it helps you see challenges and opportunities in a way that's accessible and tangible. Typically, we do this online. The idea is that once you select your challenges, you're going to identify your top 3. And then from there, you're going to identify people that are working on these challenges, companies, and choose a program of education that prepares you to work on these challenges. The challenge cards have helped lots of people, but I want to know what you think about them and how it could help you. Does somebody want to share? I'm just going to read the chat. Often career education doesn't start until secondary school. What are your thoughts on this? This is true that it doesn't start until secondary school, but we're asking kids right away from elementary school, what do you want to be when you grow up? So why don't we start right away instead of asking them, what do you want to be when you grow up? what kind of challenges they want to work on. I have another question from Ruth at the top. How can you know what challenges companies are working on? Most students are just trying to get into their job market and feel frustrated. This mindset is fabulous. So thanks for your awesome question again, Ruth. One way that we suggest is once you've identified your 3 challenges, just Google that. Google the challenge. And you'll perhaps find companies that have entered this as their mission on their website. Another good resource is using LinkedIn. That one's my favorite. I think these would be excellent to use in most classes. Thanks again, Ruth. Okay, so can you guys still see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I want to show you an idea that the University of Florida did. So every year they have a Majors Expo. So they'll tell students, come study psychology with us, come study business. But why not make this Majors Expo about the students? But the problem is that they know nothing about these students that are coming toward them. So what happened was that the students did the card sort before, and they figured out what challenges they wanted to work on, and so did their departments. So the psychology or the social science department, for instance, identified that psychology is going to work on improving mental health. And a student with a similar challenge that they identified could be directed and go get more information from that department. So currently we have 3,000 users online that are using the challenge cards. Does anybody have any questions for me so far? I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm just seeing your other comment, Ruth. This is a very timely approach considering there's many issues in the world, definitely. So like I mentioned in the beginning, if you guys think of any questions that you have afterwards, I'd love if you sent me an email and we can talk some more about those. This is such a positive way to approach and help inspire youth. Yes, Ruth. Thank you for commenting again. So I have in this PowerPoint, the link that I sent you guys earlier, I'll send it again. On the last slide, there's a feedback form. I'm glad you like the challenge cards, Mary. Are you a student? Or an educator, guidance counselor, parent? Career development facilitator? So like I was saying, in the presentation, I put a link to a Google form that I would like you guys to fill out on feedback of the presentation. I'm going to send it in the chat as well. Are there many school divisions currently using this resource? So definitely, we have schools from the University of South Florida. So we have universities, Cambrian College, Humber College, but then we also have a couple school boards that are onboarded with it. Most of the feedback we get is positive. Something that I hear a lot is that it helps their students really identify what kind of interests they have. Sometimes I hear that students have way too many interests, and this is helping them kind of choose their favorites, their top 3. Or another one is that their students just don't know what to think about because there's so many challenges and different job titles out there. How do you use LinkedIn to narrow your job search and guide a job hunt? So there's one way And it's normally there's filters on LinkedIn to choose if you want to talk to somebody that has experience in marketing or experience in another field, medicine, for instance. So that's one way.
Do we have any other questions from the floor for any participants?
I have a question if I wanted to speak through this.
Yes, go ahead.
Do you think that there's like do you think like there's any like certain information that's like hidden from people about the jobs that they want to do, and like the moment they get into it, like they find out, oh, this isn't what I wanted to do, and the challenges are there, but they're not in line with my interests, kind of.
I don't think information is intentionally hidden. I think it's more just students often go into a job having not spoken to people that are currently working in this job. For instance, the first example that comes to mind is nursing. Now, I had a friend that went into nursing, or she studied nursing, and then when she started to practice, she realized these are crazy hours that I have to work. So I guess my suggestion to you is to try the challenge cards, but then to also talk to people, which is one of the steps that the challenge card encourages you to do, but to talk to people that have held this job to really find out what a day in their life looks like. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Thank you for asking. Does anybody else have any other questions?
How would you say is like the best way to like get in contact with people in certain like jobs?
I find people on LinkedIn really like talking to the youth and talking about their jobs. Another way is to ask, I find parents, if they have any friends that have worked in that specific field. Another option would be to ask maybe your guidance counselor. Do they know anybody that they could connect you with? And then my final solution would be to go to the company that you found that works on these challenges, maybe send them an email and ask them if they have somebody that would be interested in talking to you. Does that answer your question? That was Alexis, correct?
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
No problem. So once again, if you guys have any other questions, you can send me an email.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that presentation. We really appreciate that. Do we have any other last minute questions from the floor? Because if not, you can always send them to her, send them to Emma. You can via the LinkedIn message that's always available. So I'm just going to share my screen.
I'm just going to type my email in the chat as well.
Yeah, that'd be great. Okay.
So thank you guys for coming to the presentation and to listening about the challenge cards. I hope you learned something new. I hope you implement this career exploration tool and idea that I've suggested. I just saw Ruth comment. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ruth. Feel free to contact me by email, or I think, yeah, by email.
So we also have a presentation survey that we would love for all participants to complete. So you can just go ahead and open your phone and just feel free to scan that QR code. We really appreciate your feedback. And we want to thank you guys again for joining us. And please be sure to check out our other exhibitors and presentations that are going to be happening all day. So if you have any other questions, feel free to let us know. But thanks again for coming out.
Thank you,
Bye.
guys.